You're listening to episode 105 of The Secular Buddhist. Welcome to The Secular Buddhist. I'm Ted Meissner. The Secular Buddhist is the official podcast of the Secular Buddhist Association, a grassroots-driven effort to answer the needs of secular teaching and practice for contemporary society. The podcast has interviews and roundtable discussions pertaining to engaged Buddhist training and practice, and the SBA website has show notes for each episode along with resource materials. Though the podcast focuses on core practice from a secular viewpoint, more traditional teachings are welcome and openly discussed. Shyalpa Tenzin Rinpoche joins us to speak about his new book, Living Fully, Finding Joy in Every Breath. I'm recording this introduction while attending the Wisdom 2.0 conference in California. This is the second of the W2O conferences. Next month is the 10th Annual International Scientific Conference. April is the inaugural International Symposia for Contemplative Studies. And then, of course, we're looking forward to attending the second Buddhist Geeks Conference in August. All of these are linked on the calendar on the secularbuddhism.org website, of course. But the point is, our practice is growing. It's finding new and vital ways to change people's lives outside of traditional settings, opening the door for others who may otherwise not find the same wonder of this practice that we do. Buddhism is not just for Buddhists. When we use the term Buddhism in this context, we mean the practice, not the religion. This is sometimes a very difficult concept to convey, and sometimes a very difficult concept to accept. There are people in the monastic tradition, however, who not only understand that, but do their very best to share this with others. Shyalpa Tenzin Rinpoche is the spiritual guide of the Shyalpa Monastery in Kathmandu, the founder of the Tibetan Refugee Children's Fund, and the head of Ranging Nyeshe Inc., a non-profit that organizes teachings and retreats throughout the United States. Buddha Field, in Millerton, New York, is the future site of the Center for Enlightenment and Rinpoche's seat in the U.S. He has lectured at Harvard, Yale, Wesleyan, and the Naropa Institute. He lives in Nepal and New York. So, sit back, relax, and have a nice Lapsang Soshong tea. Special thanks to Patrick Taggart, one of our listeners who suggested this tea on Facebook, who wrote, "I always feel that its smokiness resonates perfectly with the feeling of a rainy evening." Thanks, Patrick. My guest today is Shyalpa Tenzin Rinpoche. Rinpoche, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Hello.
I'm very glad to have had this interview set up, and I want to make a special thanks to Kim Corbin, who has helped facilitate this. And what I'd like to do is start, before we get into talking about your book, is to ask about your background, and if you could tell us about what it was like for you growing up.
Well, it was like, anybody else's life, but when I was young, we did not have had opportunity to experience modern way of living. Instead, my family were very spiritual and traditional Tibetan family with well-to-do in their own country. But then when they came to exile and where they don't speak the language and they don't have like a experience of the weather and everything. It's hard for them, and even though it was very hard for them, since they were very spiritual and a person, they have given me or put me in a position to learn very deep Tibetan Buddhist philosophy and a ritual and so on and so forth. And then the most interesting thing is elders in our family were very, very gentle and compassionate people. So I was very lucky and fortunate to have been protected and nurtured, and they had a great influence over me. And so in a sense, I was raised like any ordinary people, but in a spiritual sense, I was very fortunate to be kept in a very, very luminous environment. As a child, some elders in our community and highly realized lamas supposed to have told that I was a special child, therefore I must be kept clean, given a special treatment. I'm not so sure I believe in that kind of in a way, but I was put in that position, and when you think back about it, and I did get a good education and good training, and at that time I never used to feel that way. I used to feel that, oh, my friends are playing soccer and hide and seek, and they're running around, and I wish I can be with them.
Yeah.
And peeking from the window and hearing their noises, I used to think they're very, very lucky, but, well, give and take. And I wasn't so unfortunate in that sense either.
Yeah.
So, I had a very, very profound experience in this sacred tradition.
Did you start your monastic training very, very early, and what was that like for you with the teaching itself? Did it resonate with you right away, or did it take a little bit for it to start to sink in?
Well, my grandparents, used to say that even when I was brought to the temple, maybe a year old or 2 year old, and without anybody teaching or helping, and as soon as I reached the doorstep of the temple, and my hands were folded, together and paying respect to the Buddha. So, there is, I'm sure, a very, very one-pointed and directed, a energy as a child. And maybe that was the indication, or maybe there was just an incidental thing. Nonetheless, that kind of miracle did support me on my spiritual journey. As I was 4 or 5 years old, probably, I have started learning, how to read and how to write, and I was trained and thoroughly on the spiritual training, and my father also have instructed and guided me on how to proceed with ritual practices and so on and so forth. So I had a very early encounter with the spiritual way of living. So unlike many monks and nuns, I was very, very fortunate,
Oh, and it sounds like your experiences were very positive, and from a very young age, to help support you in what you were going to do as your life's calling.
Yes, actually, they felt that that was my destiny, and that was my calling that felt that, and because of that, I think they expected me to lead and make a difference in people's life. So you can say that exactly, and it was very positive indeed, because in life, I consider now is that the most positive thing is being able to be kind and caring and beneficial. And to me, that is a meaningful life. So when I think about it, you are right. Indeed, it is a very, very meaningful life, and I'm enjoying it tremendously. And that is the blessing of my, parents, and my teachers, all the people who have influenced me and respected me and sort of nurtured me.
It's all of those causes and conditions which lead to these very pivotal and moving moments and careers and callings in our lives. And you say this very well even in the title of your book, and we can start talking about that. The book is called Living Fully, Finding Joy in Every Breath. Now, this is your first book. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what prompted you to write the book.
You see, I have, a great deal of respect and a great deal of confidence in humanity in general. And as you have very intelligently expressed it, it is that the human beings, when they are able to find the right circumstances and were nurtured properly and receive the guidance and influence at the right time and right place and from right person, and we are able to glow, and we are able to radiate, and we are able to live life fully. And therefore, it is my heartfelt concern and feeling that those who do not get that kind of opportunity, even if when people are now having to behave in a certain way that is harmful to them, it's not necessarily only their fault, so to speak, because it is circumstantial as well, and unfortunate that some situations were not conducive for their growth and ability to generate power and strength to live life fully. So I do really understand and really care, and I'm very concerned. So therefore, it is very important, I feel, that we never judge anybody, for how they are behaving and how they are expressing and how they are living now, because, probably all the circumstances did not come, conducive and did not come positive, for many people. Therefore, I feel it is very important to respect everyone, no matter what, because, as I said, as my subtitle, everybody is trying to find joy in every breath they're breathing.
Yeah, you said that quite beautifully, and I'm going to read for the listeners two of the quotes that are on the back of the book, and I have my copy here. Again, thank you, Kim. And they bring up two very important parts that I think are relevant to our practice as we engage with the Eightfold Path and with Buddhism. The first quote is, "Like prisoners escaping from shackles, we need to break free from the confusion and negativity that torment us. Then we will rediscover the beauty of our natural state of being, released from all burdens and limitations." And to me, this is a direct indication, at least that's how I take it, as our mind states and our practice and the things that we do moment by moment, pragmatically, to intentionally change the direction of our lives. The other thing that you have on the back here that's a quote is, "The enlightened nature that exists within us is inherently perfect from beginningless time. We do not have to manufacture anything, since it is already perfect as it is. Our true nature shines like the sun. We need to always be aware of this unconditional luminosity, even on the darkest of days." That was a very inspiring passage, and as Westerners, we tend to focus more on very pragmatic practices, and sometimes we lose sight of the inspiration that is part of it. And I found that throughout your book. Is that one of the things that you were most interested in putting down in writing, is some of the encouragement for people as they engage with the practice?
Yes, absolutely. And not only encouraging them, and I have explained in the book in a way logically, and I try to use lots of common sense. I don't try to preach people in the book, and I try to share how reasonable it is to understand in this way or that way. And I try to draw everyone's sort of wisdom and their own heartfelt conviction to truly see ways and means to really get it or really experience it. So, you will be able to concur with me, because in their book, those words are just you really see it in the cover of the book. Inside, I try to make sure, with so many reasons and so many points and so many explanations and so many stories, so that people can be able to really connect to these points and see it and experience it themselves, so that they will be able to then live in a very, very meaningful way when they are able to handle their life and when they are really going through so many hardships and difficulties. And these techniques and teachings and instructions and explanations that I have tried to bring in this book to truly help them live in that moment and become capable of handling their life.
Yeah, and you did this very well. I'm going to read two other quotes that were, again, very notable in how well they were worded. In one section, this is on your chapter, Innate Intelligence, on page 27, for those of you who are following along. You're talking about everyone wants to be happy, and there's no one really who's interested in suffering. And you say about that, using our intelligence, we can understand this universal truth without needing religious dogma to convince us. And that's one of the messages that many of us share quite profoundly, is that this practice need not be limited to those of us who may designate as Buddhists. This is a human thing, that we're all able to engage with this. Is that something that you've tried to convey with some of your writings?
Very much, and that is my main intention. My main intention is to really share with entire humanity to how to really cope with our lives. And I know, we all are struggling in one way or other, no matter who we think we are. I mean, some days are nice and everything seems to be going right, but that doesn't really say much, because when nothing is going right, at that time, whether we know how to handle it or not defines our integrity and our accomplishment. So, and to really have that standard, it's not easy for anyone, and it's very difficult for all sentient beings. And even if you are a Buddhist practitioner, I don't, think it's really that easy. So we Buddhists are not necessarily better off than anybody else. But if we are able to express our compassion without limitation, then Buddha's message is dwelling in our heart, and we are embodying Buddha's wisdom and compassion. So if we are able to relate to our fellow human beings in that way, so then everybody will be able to see that, Buddha means awaken, and awaken from ignorance. Yes, they are proving, they are showing that they are awakened, and they are exuding that quality. Oh, well, if you are exuding that quality, then you don't have to say how great this is for Buddhists. Then whatever is good for Buddha is good for anybody else. So in that sense, I try to bring this message to truly, truly connect to every human being, and never thought of any religion or any creed or caste or gender. And I feel that this is something that can be their best friend. And you asked me earlier, and what is the purpose of my writing book, and why did I write the book? And the thing is, it's not so much I have interest to write a book or become a writer, but these are the things that I have been expressing for the last 20 years in giving teachings around to those friends who are close to me. And many of those words and teachings are fresh fresh intelligence and fresh realization that coming from within. And many things that are there recorded. If it's recorded, then it's safe. Otherwise, never repeated again. Therefore, we felt that these words, and some of these words you do not find in any other books or any other scriptures. And the way it is expressed is my own original way of feeling it and seeing it. So we felt, therefore, it would be important to record them and then save them. So once we recorded and saved them, and we found it interesting. So I thought, well, if it's interesting for us, maybe it will be interesting for other people too. So in that sense, we had some compassion in putting this book together, and the feeling of love and a feeling of real connection to human suffering and human happiness and human way of being. So this is how this book is now available for everyone.
And one of the things that you had captured in words that I'm glad is saved, again, for people who are following along, I'm on page 47 on a chapter titled Openness. And this is something that we try to encourage as part of this podcast, and having people like the Rinpoche here, is that we sometimes need to go out of our comfort zones and our preconceived notions and our limitations. And the way you had said it in the book is we should examine and question our preconceptions and be daring enough to explore new and unfamiliar terrain. That happens with us every day, and every moment we have the chance to do so. Are you finding that message, that there is a difference in how the audience receives it when you're teaching Westerners or Tibetans?
For my personal experience, I really did not find any difference between Westerners or Tibetans or Easterners or Westerners. Mm-hmm. I find it this, that sometimes some human beings are more clear and more open. Some human beings are more sophisticated, and some human beings have had more exposures, and some had less exposures. So it depends upon what kind of a background they had and what kind of sharpness they are able to actualize. Mm-hmm. And according to that, sometimes differences I see. So therefore, I never ever let anything like their background control me and limit me in sharing my feelings and pointing out something that is useful for them. So to me, I'm lucky in that way. Wherever I travel, and I was very lucky to have found very influential, very well-mannered, well-traveled, and well-healed, and individuals. So when I'm there to communicate something, and a majority of them are able to truly initiate. And for instance, yesterday, I just came back from Syracuse, New York, where I gave a talk to interfaith leaders, and there were interfaith leaders, and then there was about 300 people in one church that packed audience. I was talking to them for a few minutes and giving short teachings. And one person later told me when I was signing the book, for that particular person, said, Rinpoche, it's very interesting that when we were in this church, everybody is so quiet and so silent and paying total attention. Like if you drop a needle in the haze, you can still hear the sound. That kind of quietness out there, people are paying attention to what you're saying. And I have never seen such audience and are so attentive to a speaker saying something. The person said it to me. And this is what I find myself very lucky and a very great crowd, no matter where I was. And I was able to reach. In that sense, really, I am very clear that Easterners or Westerners or Tibetans or Westerners, there's no difference. But I think difference is how you explain to them. And when you are able to explain to them according to their ability, according to their way of saying things, I think there's nothing that you cannot really communicate. Human beings are that gifted, I feel. And I have really experienced this with every human being, so I'm very confident with their human ability.
I'd like to shift a bit to some of the contributions that you have made in the way you're sharing the teaching with people. You've founded a number of organizations. The Tibetan Children's Fund. You've reestablished the Shyalpa Monastery and Retreat Center in Kathmandu. And one I'd like to talk about for a moment is Shyalpa Nunnery. I know in the Theravadan tradition that the resurgence and challenges that have been faced by becoming a monastic in a nunnery setting, to be a female monastic, can be very daunting. And I was wondering if you'd run into any cultural challenges in establishing the nunnery and how people were responding to that.
Well, first of all, creating organizations such as Tibetan Children's Fund or Himalayan Children's Fund and building Shyalpa Monastery, these things, I feel it like my very small contribution. Is not, I don't even consider those things are really something big that I have accomplished. It's just, I feel my responsibility is to help whoever is in need if I am capable of helping them. So it is my joy and pleasure to be able to participate in anybody's life, including your life right now, when we are talking. It's just sense of real, happiness in me. So I, don't take it as a big accomplishment. It's part of my life where, I do some things, whatever I'm capable of. And second thing is that nunnery, that you mentioned, nuns, and to me, I believe in equal rights, 100%. I believe in equal rights. Otherwise, how can I respect humanity and human equality?
Yep.
And I don't see any way to respect human equality if you do not believe in equal rights. So, as far as I'm concerned, every female should get as much possibility to learn how to live life fully and how to actualize their basic intelligence, how to attain enlightenment, like any male on this earth, and have opportunity to do so. However, after having said that, and when I was asked by my student, Professor Carol Oberburner, and she said, Rinpoche, we are your female student. You are very fair to us, and you are very kind to us. You always treated us equally. And now you have a monastery, and we would like to see you have a nunnery.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I just promised to her no problem. I would like to, create a nunnery. And she's very close to me, and she's very direct and very supportive. And even then, there were some people, they were saying to me, "Oh, Rinpoche, better not start nunnery because you have no idea how hard it is." It is, twice hard as, raising monks or something like that. Some people have mentioned this to me.
Yeah.
And I shrugged off and I said, "Look, you don't want to do something because it's going to be hard."
Right.
I don't think that is a very good reason. If it is hard, if you accomplish it, and that will be even more rewarding than something that is easy and you accomplished it. So this is my attitude. However, I did not listen to anybody, and as I felt it's important, I have started nunnery. Of course, my budget is limited, so could not have a big center, but whatever I had, I even sold my own Jeep that somebody and they gave me as a gift. I sold it and I bought land by selling my own Jeep. And the reason why they gave me Jeep in the first place is my lung is not so good, so they thought I would be breathing this pollution in the city. Therefore, they thought it would protect me to have a Jeep. So anyway, I did not care about lung, and that time when I felt that this land is wonderful land to have for nun, I sold it without having a second thought. And I bought it, and then I slowly, and Carol and they also tried to help me, and I built nunnery. As far as I'm concerned, and I don't see anything more troubling to raise nuns than monks. They are so good. They are studying so nicely, and they are cleaner than monks. Cleaner than monks, and very, very positive. Of course, we have to have compassion and feeling towards women, because some things that women has to go through that men you don't have to go through, right? So just because they are in that situation, instead of having compassion for that, and we cannot just say, okay, they are difficult to handle, we should exclude it. And I don't believe in that. As far as vows and so on and so forth, those are different questions, and we should think, and we should even discuss, and even with the nuns themselves. And whatever is going to enlighten anyone, whatever is going to make them more meaningful person, I think we should support.
Absolutely agree, and thank you for that, because I think the listeners to the podcast would agree. We're totally in favor and understand the idea that we're all people, regardless of our genders, our colors, our various kinds of ways in which we've manifested. Having a diverse community of practitioners is fine. That's a good thing. Everyone is equally capable and deserving of happiness and progress on the path.
Our mother is the one who gave birth to us. Our mother is the one who carried us in her stomach for 10 months, right? So we have sisters, and these sisters are also very close to us too. So if they want to be nun, if they want to pursue a spiritual practice, I don't think there should be any obstacles whatsoever that is created by man.
One thing I'd like to finish up with is for you to tell us a bit about your Center for Enlightenment at Buddha Field in Millerton, New York. Tell us about that, what it is, and how it's progressing.
Well, I was able to acquire this piece of land, almost 50 acres of land in Millerton, New York, and one of the most beautiful spots that we were able to acquire after looking for it maybe 3-4 years, and then finally we found this. And then recently in New York Times, they mentioned that Millerton town is the smaller town that is the most desirable for any New Yorkers to move and go and live. So we have this very beautiful town, and we have this land, and to this land, you see, I didn't want to call something very Tibetan, because I have all these neighbors who are farmers, who live there in their second home or whatever. I want everybody to experience that this teaching is accessible to them.
Yes, yes, yes.
This is a field that I was able to buy it, and I call that field a Buddha field. I added Buddha to field. So that kind of my closeness towards making this accessible, and this, people sometimes maybe don't see it, but that's how I see it. Buddha field is something very easy for anybody to connect. So on that place, I'm trying to create a sanctuary, because I feel that America is one of the greatest countries on this earth. And yes, Buddha was born in India, and Buddha's teaching flourished in India and China and everywhere in Asia. But now this day and age, America is a great symbol of freedom. America is where everybody at least talks about rights, freedom, and human rights, and equal rights, and so on and so forth. In this place, we have to have real and solid understanding of humanity. And if we can build any world peace sanctuary, I feel it is important to now start building in America. And the second thing is, America, it's a very good country for me personally. And when I don't have even an identity card, and in America where I am able to settle and able to live, and everybody become my good friend, and we are able to share many good things, very sympathetic to me when I need it. Therefore, as a human being, we have to have one thing, that is loyalty. And we have to have one thing, that is integrity. And I feel in my small way, I want to do something here in America that will be, treasured by everybody all over the world, especially those people in America. And this Buddha field is very close to New York City, and less than 2 hours drive. And from Boston is less than 3 hours drive. It's very centrally located and easy access, where there's a train and everything can come there. And then I found this place, which is very, very sacred. The moment we saw this land, there is special energy on this land. So on this place, we are trying to create a sanctuary. I really mean it, sanctuary, where people are suffering and people are having difficulties to handle their life and feeling helplessness. They can come there and find solace and find refuge, find wisdom, and find insight. So this is a small place that I'm trying to do to help people. So this is called Buddha Field, and so far we are able to make road to it, to this place, and we are able to bring electricity and water. Now we are on the process working with the master plan, which I supposed to meet architects in 2 days. And last 6 months, this particular architect voluntarily creating master plan, and we are trying to create really, really a high standard sanctuary that possibly can create.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to hearing more about that as time goes on. And for people who are listening to the podcast, I want to give you a couple of website addresses where you can find out more about things we've been speaking today. First is the Rinpoche's website. That's shyalparinpoche.org. That's spelled SHYALPARINPOCHE.org. And the other site, which is specifically regarding the book that we've been speaking about, is livingfully.org. Shyalpa Tenzin Rinpoche has been our guests. Rinpoche, thank you so much for being here. This has been a wonderful conversation.
It's my pleasure, and I hope once Buddha is up and running, you will be able to come and sit together meditating there.
It's a date.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more about something you've heard in today's podcast, please come visit the SBA website at secularbuddhism.org, and you'll find an entire webpage devoted to this and every episode. Discussion about this episode can be found on the episode page itself, along with show notes. The music for The Secular Buddhist is used by permission from John Kaizan Neptune's CD, Steps in Time. Additional music is provided courtesy of Monty Levinson of Tai Hei Shakuhachi and Rodrigo Rodriguez. Their websites are also linked on the SBA site on the About Podcast Music page. Until next time, remember, every moment you have a choice. Make it the best you can. See you next time on The Secular Buddhist.